Good morning and welcome back to Diving Deep into Eberron here on Gaming with ADHD. I am your host, Brian, the guy who runs this crazy place around here. And I am joined today by my usual co-host, Seraphis, whatever, this guy.
I am quite the dragon above, so
no, you are in the land of make-believe, so you are the dragon below. Duh.
Do you really want to be calling me Kaiba?
I mean, is it inaccurate?
I mean, there's a disturbing number of Rakshasa around, so you might not be too far off.
Exactly. Anyhow, so folks, I will ask your forgiveness. I am running on about 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours of sleep. So this is going to be an interesting show tonight. But today we are going to be talking about Eberron magic items and Eberron monsters. So before we get started, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I do try to put out a few different videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content, and also doing some live streams to do stuff like this, deep dives, painting streams, things like that, and love for you to come along and see what we have to share. So, anything we need to talk about before we actually dive into this, Seraphis?
We're not going to talk about the maths. We've done that before in the other sections. No more maths this time.
No more maths.
So everyone's brains can be saved.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were talking about math. But... Oh, I'm also going to say it. I do find it weird that you guys and the UK say maths instead of math.
That's
just saying.
It's maths.
It's math.
Math. See, we say proper English. And you say,
I get it. It's mathematics. English. And so, yes, it's maths instead of math. But whatever, it just sounds weird to this American. So, anyhow, you and your made-up
thankfully,
language.
Your country's going down the toilet, so we don't have to worry about what Americans think anymore.
Keeping my mouth shut because I am trying. Anyways, do not set me off on a tear.
Did you know in 3 days the Australian AUD to USD has gone up 2 cents in 3 days?
That 2 cents means nothing.
Yeah, unless it keeps going like that, in which case, by the end of the year, we're going to have the same... Oh, we're going to be higher than you guys.
I mean, Bitcoin was at like $110,000, and now it's like 95. So...
Yeah, but cryptocurrency doesn't count. It's made up.
Just like Australia.
And yet your country spends a lot of money here. It's funny. Going off the rails already.
Anyhow, now that we've chased off whatever audience we have. All right.
Audience. What are you talking about?
So, as we said, we are going to be starting with magic items and monsters tonight. We are skipping, for those of you who are following along in your own copy of the Eberron campaign setting, we are skipping over the Eberron campaign chapter. We are going to cover that next week. I figured that we'd get through at least 2 chapters, and I figured magic items and monsters were a bit more compatible than a campaign chapter, which I'm excited about, but I just think is in the completely wrong spot. So, anyway, so also keep in mind before we get started on this, we'll have this week, probably next week, because we'll see how well this goes tonight. If this goes quick, maybe we'll just throw in the campaign chapter. So this week and maybe next week, and then we're going to do just kind of a special one-shot where Seraphis is going to run us through an Eberron adventure. So make sure you're here for that. All right. Magic throw Matt.
Words are hard.
Words are hard today. Okay, magic flows through the land of Eberron. The work of artificers is on display in every major city. The mystical powers of the dragon-marked houses form the basis of Corvair's economy, and the heirs of the houses use dragon shard devices to focus their spell-like powers. The gnomes of Zilargo and some other artificers of great renown bind living elementals into magic weapons, armor, and vehicles, harnessing the fundamental power of the universe. The artificers of House Cannith have such skill in item creation that they have actually created life, and they augment their Warforged creations with magic items embedded in their bodies. This chapter introduces new magic items of the Eberron setting. These items are divided into the following categories. Dragon shard items, crafted from the mystical crystals known as dragon shards. These items vary depending on the purity of the shard used. Sybaris shard items focus or enhance the powers of dragon-marked characters and can also enhance psionic powers when embedded in an inspired body. Eberron shard items store magical and psionic energy, whether as spellbooks, spell-storing items, or psionic power stones. Kyber shard items use the affinity of the shard to bind creatures in some fashion. Bound elemental items, created by imprisoning an elemental within an item. These vehicles, weapons, armor, and other items are a specialty of the gnomes of Zilargo, though the technique may be connected to an older source. Since elementals are almost always bound into Kyber dragon shards, this chapter discusses these items under the general heading of dragon shard items. Warforged components. The full power of these armaments and tools is only activated when they are embedded in the body of one of the Warforged. Wondrous locations. These works of magical engineering are too large to be moved. Traditional items. All of the magic items in the Dungeon Master's Guide, from magic arms and armor to wondrous items, are available in Eberron. New items within the traditional categories of magical items and artifacts range from the ancient relics of Zendrick and the Dakani Empire to the latest invention of modern-day artificers. Dun, dun, dun.
So, just quickly, so you're saying that like there isn't actually an alignment bound to Sybaris, Eberron, and Kyber dragon shards?
I mean, it didn't imply that.
Oh, that's funny. I could have sworn later editions implied that there's a alignment to each of the shards.
Why are you trying to set me off already, Seraphis? I mean, let's be honest. You know, the way that later editions just turn everything into gray goo, why would they give a crap about alignment? So,
well, you know, I mean, Sybaris is the dragon above, Eberron's the dragon between, and Kyber's the dragon below. One of those is a good dragon, one of those is an evil dragon, and one of those is a neutral dragon, apparently.
Well, no, but I mean, well, number one, yes, that's actually what they've implied this whole time in Eberron. But also, I mean, that is one thing that I would mention. If you look at the and I think we'll see this more as we look at the individual dragon shard items, is look at how those items are used. Okay. Mm-hmm. A Sybaris item, it is, you know, about enhancing and focusing and making your magic better. You know, it is a benefit. It is a quote unquote blessing. Okay. Look at an Eberron dragon shard item. Okay. It's very utilitarian. Okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It just does a job. Okay. And then you get to the Kyber crystals. Oh no, we're going to imprison for all like, okay, it is an elemental creature, but for all intents and purposes, it is a conscious creature. Or we're going to imprison it in this crystal. That doesn't sound like a very nice thing to do. So, sure, there's no alignment to the particular crystals, but how they are used definitely has we'll call it an alignment or a moral component to it.
Actually, it's not limited to just capturing elementals. You can use it to capture any kind of outsider.
Okay, sure. Again, my point being, like the thing that jumped in my head was the bound elementals for like a skyship or something. Again, binding what is for all intents and purposes a living creature, even if it's just like the manifestation of an elemental force, doesn't usually imply, hey, this is a nice thing to do.
Yeah, but like if a demon just suddenly appeared in front of you and you had a Kyber Dragon Shard on you and cast Kyber Trap, well, then that demon really isn't a problem anymore.
Sure, but again, you are binding a quote-unquote living or conscious creature. So the purpose...
I think that demon shouldn't have attacked in the first place.
But demon do what a demon do. But, again, my point is just you're making that there's no alignment assigned to the dragon shards. But if you look...
No, but there's an affinity aligned to them.
Right, no, exactly, right. That great. That is a very good word. There's an affinity alignment.
Yeah, it's also right there as well. Down.
Yeah.
Up.
Affinity for certain magic. Yeah. Right, exactly. It has an affinity for certain magical functions, but I'm also going to say that those particular functions, could be assigned a quote-unquote moral philosophy. Sybaris items seem to apply blessings, benefits, good things. Eberron ones are utility. They're neutral. They're just there. Kyber, you're doing stuff, but maybe it's not the nicest stuff.
So you're saying Eberron is Bethesda? It just works?
Sure. I don't know. Anyways.
Ah, dear. All right, let's get on with this. Dragon Shard items. Among Eberron's most important resources are the three varieties of Dragon Shards. The Fallen Shards of Sybaris, the crystals found in the soul of Eberron, and those drawn from the depths of Kyber. Each type of Dragon Shard has an affinity for certain magical functions, and each is used to make a different sort of magic item. All Dragon Shards appear as translucent rock or crystal with swirling veins of color suspended within them. The shape of these veins suggests the swirls of dragon marks, though no one has ever found a shard that exactly mirrored a mark. The color moves and pulses within the translucent crystal, making dragon shards look almost alive and lending their color to the overall appearance of the crystal.
Well, I kind of like that. I kind of like that idea. It's like, okay. I didn't want to bring up the comments.
Although, the dragon shard?
No, not that one. No, the comments on last week's live stream that have brought you such calm and relaxation.
I am nothing but a beacon of serenity and tranquility. Thank you very much.
Right, but I think there is something to be said about how the marks and how all of this stuff is interrelated. The fact that dragon shards are implied, to somewhat appear to be like a dragon mark themselves. I think that's like a really, really interesting just description there. And again, it's one of those things where if you change that, is it still Eberron? So
No, I'm not gonna take that.
okay. Anyways, keep going.
Sybaris shard items. Sybaris shards fall from the ring of Sybaris, and as a result, are usually found in Zendrick and other equatorial regions. No prospector has yet dared to explore what must be a vast shard field. What must be vast shard fields in Arganessen, which understandable. Who wants to deal with that many dragons?
Well, but okay, this is a sentence where you're like, why would you put this in here? No prospector has yet dared to explore what must be vast shard fields in Arganessen. How do they know? They imply that nobody goes to Arganessen, or like maybe there's like one little like trading post on like the coastline, but nobody goes further. Anyway,
yeah. But they do have the world mapped thanks to observatories and stuff, so they know that Arganessen is along the equator. So it stands to reason that Arganessen probably has a large field.
Hold on. Zendrick and Arganessen are on the equator?
Yep.
They're not like Australia in the southern hemisphere?
Not really, no.
So what's below them?
So Zendrick does actually spread down to what would be the equivalent of Antarctica.
Okay. So the northern portions of those two continents are on the equator, but then everything else goes south.
Yeah. Arganessen, though, is more directly in the middle. If you look at charts, whole world maps of Eberron, so it's highly likely that Arganessen probably gets a lot of Sybaris dragon shards falling onto it, whereas you get the top third to a half of Zendrick is where the dragon shard, the Sybaris fields are.
I'm gonna have to dig through Keith Baker's blog. He's probably got some good information on it, but that is not how I've ever envisioned the Eberron map. I always assumed like the I always assumed like the equator went through like Arenel, not Zendrick.
Oh no, Arenel is north of the equator.
Yeah. Again, all right. We'll do that later. We could probably do that next week. I think we'll have extra time next week.
I have a map of it here somewhere. If I can remember where the frick it is. Maps. Oh, would it be in maps? No, it wouldn't be in maps.
Why would it be in maps? That would be a logical explanation.
Apparently, that would be a logical. God damn it. Okay, well, I can't find it at the moment. That's fine. One of the books has a full-on map of the entire world that you can see, and yeah, it's.
Well, yeah, no, the inside cover of Eberron has that.
It's on... Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
Like, fine. Or was it? Okay, just remember 259.
259.
That's Corvair. I know Life in the World has a full map. Okay. 2-page. All right. Okay, so yeah, so here's the equator with Zendrick and Stormreach probably right on the equator. My brain always just kind of said Arganesson was here, Zendrick was here, and like the equator was kind of empty. So apparently I'm just an idiot. That's all.
Yeah. There's also like Earth, though. You've got the planetary tilt as well. So while you've got the equator there in the middle like that, what you're actually getting is that kind of like how Australia during its summer season is actually closer to the sun than anywhere else in the world during any of their summer seasons. Zendrick and Arganesson are actually closer to the areas where Sibra shards are actually falling.
So like the ring kind of goes kind of like this.
Yeah. So Zendrick and Arganesson, so those kind of areas in the south are actually getting the majority of the hits. It's basically missing RNL and Corvair.
Okay. Well, let's get back to it. Now that I mean, this is the channel is called Gaming with ADHD for a reason.
Yes.
Well,
hey, people might want to know this random bit of information. So,
anyways, all right. Tell us about our Sibra shard items.
All right. So, continuing, considering we were just going through that bit of block text there. Their crystalline depths contain pulsating golden veins, the most rare of the dragon shard varieties. Sibra shards are also the most closely connected to dragon marks. Scions of the dragon marked houses attune them to their own marks and fashion them into focus items to enhance their spell-like abilities. Sibra's heirs use unattuned shards to power their own powerful abilities. The inspired of Salona covet Sibra's dragon covet Sibra's shards because they can be used to enhance psionic abilities. Since dragon shards are precious to so many powerful groups, a significant find of previously undiscovered shards is often the focus of intrigue or the object of theft. Sibra shards are also sometimes called sunstones or star motes, and their connection to the dragon marked houses means that they are often simply called dragon shards with no qualification. The dragon marked houses are vitally important to Corvair's society and economy. Their artificers thus have both a driving need to develop methods of enhancing their power and the economic resources to do so, which has resulted in a proliferation of magic items designed to harness and enhance the power of a dragon-marked heir. These items range from highly specialized devices that increase the effects of a particular mark, such as the Speaking Stone of House Sivis, to general-purpose tools that are useful to anyone who bears a mark, such as the Dragon Shard Reservoir. This section begins with a look at general items that can be used by anyone with a dragon mark, followed by channeling rods, greater focus items, the Korai embedded shards, and Korai embedded shards. Most dragon shard items require the user to possess a specific dragon mark. such as the least mark of finding. Such items work by enhancing the character's natural abilities, and as a result, a character who does not possess the proper innate ability cannot employ the use magic device skill to bypass those restrictions.
So so let me just make sure I understand this.
Yes.
So most Dragon Shard items require the user to possess a specific dragon mark.
Yes.
So does that mean that, well, no, okay, most items. So if the item is designed for use with a particular dragon mark, you have to have the dragon mark to use it. But there are, I'm going to assume, general use magic items you can make with dragon shards that do not require a mark.
Like the Dragon Shard Reservoir, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I believe, yeah, a focus requires a specific dragon mark, or it needs to be attuned to a specific dragon mark. But something like the Dragon Shard Reservoir is a universal item that can work for anything. Oh, for anyone with a Dragon Shard.
Or like the dragon mark, or the Dragon Shard spellbook thing.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. The way my brain was interpreting it was, if you're going to use a Dragon Shard item, you have to have a dragon mark. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense because it's supposed to be usable for all sorts of things. Okay, all right, I'm there now. I figured it out.
Basically, like, I mean, this is going to touch on a little bit on the channeling rods part, but basically, you'll notice if you look at like a focus item for, say, a cleric or a arcane caster, and compare it to the Dragonmark focus item, providing that range of +1 to +4 to a caster level, the Dragonmark focus is a lot cheaper, and the reason for that is because you can't just replicate it. I mean, an artificer can, but you can't just like bypass to make it a universal item. It's cheaper because it's very specific. Like if you've got the mark of finding, and amongst some loot that you find a dragon shard, dragon mark focus of the mark of making, that's useless to you.
Right.
So yeah. It's all about being like hyper specific, it lowers the cost of it basically.
Okay.
So yeah, that's basically, I just described the dragon mark focus right there, so don't really need to do that. Dragon mark reservoirs are basically give you extra use of your dragon mark ability, spell-like ability. So yep. And yeah, that's basically those two examples there. Okay. So channeling rods.
All right. Over the centuries, artificers connected to the dragon-marked houses have found a number of ways to refine and enhance the powers of their patrons. A channeling rod is a short metal rod covered with arcane runes and sigils, wrapped around a dragon shard core. The combination allows a character holding the rod to amplify the power of her dragon mark by applying the effects of a meta magic feat to it, maximizing the power of a mark ability or increasing its range or duration, for example. Channeling rod is a use-activated item. A character may only use one channeling rod on any given use of a dragon mark ability. A least channeling rod can enhance only the power of the least dragon mark ability. A lesser rod can enhance a lesser or least mark ability, and a greater rod can enhance any weaker ability. A Sybaris rod can enhance only a Sybaris mark ability. Okay, so then obviously we've got, empower, enlarge, extend. So basically it's just going to take the if I understand this correctly, it's just going to take your Dragon Mark and or your Dragon Mark ability and make it better.
Yeah, give you the whatever the meta magic ability of that rod is basically.
Yeah, so like maximize wielder this rod can use up to 3 Dragon Mark spell like abilities per day. Quicken, yeah, I'm assuming do it faster.
Yep.
Okay, that was easy.
Yes. Greatest Dragon Shard focus items. A Dragon Mark focus or a channeling rod provides a general bonus when used with a particular Dragon Mark, but each Dragon Mark has specific applications. And over the years, the artificers of the different houses have developed arcane tools to enhance the specific powers of their marks. A few examples are provided below. So we have the Altar of Resurrection. This marble slab acts as a channel for the powers of the Mark of Healing. A character who possesses the Heal ability of the Greater Mark of Healing or the Mass Heal ability of the Sybaris Mark of Healing can sacrifice one use of that ability to cast Resurrection on a creature resting on the altar. The creature must still provide the character must still provide the material components for the Resurrection spell. Yada yada maths. Now, that's pretty cool. That gives us like some new ways of like how the various houses kind of keep their scions and stuff alive when, you know, you've got things like this.
Yeah. I mean, that's
well, it's pretty hard to mount assassination attempts when you've got a, you know, packs with, you know,
right. House Jarasco and
House Jarasco. And, you know, if one of your scions is assassinated, you just kind of bring them to them, put them down, and then one of their elders comes along and, okay, boom, there we go.
That's fair. Yeah, that's. I will admit, stuff like that, like resurrection spells, wish spells, all that kind of stuff, kind of take a lot of the sting out of the game.
Yeah. And, you know, when Eberron specifically says that, you know, a high-level campaign set in the Eberron setting is considered to be, like, at most a level 14 game, that kind of tells you you're probably not going to have Resurrection.
Right. Or at least not easily accessible.
Yeah. So this is a way to have access or have that kind of system in place, especially if you're playing a Dragon Marked character of a high level and you die.
Right.
You know, can you use your house standing to get a resurrection?
Right. Look, I'm very popular. Some might say I'm the most popular. I should get a resurrection.
Okay, the Astral Beacon. Now, this one I actually really like, and I want to bring into the 3.5 game I'm in, because let's just go over this one. Okay. Astral Beacon. Tied to the Mark of Passage, this object acts as a magical beacon to Orion heirs slipping through the astral plane. A character with the Dimension Door ability of the Lesser Mark of Passage or the Teleport ability of the Greater Mark of Passage can use the ability to a maximum distance equal to twice her usual maximum if her destination point is within 10 feet of an astral beacon. In addition, a location within 10 feet of an astral beacon is always treated as very familiar to a character with the teleport ability for purposes of determining whether she arrives on target. An astral beacon is an 8-inch sphere formed from silver and crystal with the dragon shard at the core. It is often encased in lead or embedded in the floor of a chamber to prevent enemies from stealing or smashing the sphere. Now, the price there and everything, that's all calculated for a dragon mark, right?
Sure.
But that same level can be recalculated as a fixed item, fixed stationary item, right? It's a little bit more expensive, but yeah, you can absolutely create that in a normal game to be able to do that. So that a teleportability, as long as your target is within that astral beacon point, yeah, it's always treated as very familiar, which basically negates the chance of having a teleport misfire.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, I think it's like just reading it. It's like, okay, so the which is yeah, House Orion. This is one of those things where it's like, okay, so within 10 feet of an astral beacon, okay, so all the House Orion, like transport stations have a room that's, I'm going to say 30 feet by 30 feet just to, give it enough room. But it's just 30 feet by 30 feet with, with one of these beacons just stuck in the floor, and, they've got a whole network that anybody with this is just like, oh yeah, bing, 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 bing. So, yeah,
yes,
no, that's
it's the Stargate system.
Yeah, yes, that. Oh my gosh, I am tired today.
And the best part is that I've already kind of hinted that a lot of what my character in the 3.5 game is doing is being inspired by Stargate. And the DM several times has been like, I'm not quite sure how you justify that. But once we get backs and we've got that goddamn downtime, I'm just
You're never getting
him...
your downtime.
Oh, no. We're almost there. Thank fucking God, we're almost there. But I'm basically opening up to this page and just being like, now tell me again how this is not a gold sarcophagus and a Stargate. I'm not wrong.
Fun. No, and you know what? Actually, now that you say that, this all came right out around the height of Stargate SG-1.
Yeah. It's not listed, but my God, it feels so much like it.
I don't disagree. Yeah, it was. Let's keep going.
And there's more stuff to come. That's the best part. Okay. Let's quickly get through some of these. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep going on. Bag of Bounty. Small dragon shards are embedded in a lining of this leather bag, which is designed to enhance the power of the Mark of Hospitality. If a character possesses the create food and water ability of the lesser Mark of Hospitality, a Bag of Bounty allows him to use this power 2 additional times per day. The casting time is reduced to 1 minute. The food produced by the bag is not the usual bland fare created by the spell. Instead, the character can make a profession cook check to determine the nature and quality of the food. So basically, you can make a bountiful feast. Now, this wouldn't be like a hero's feast or feast of champions, but you're providing. You can
wait. So I can't get tacos and sushi?
Yeah, but it just wouldn't be a hero's feast. You wouldn't get that immunity to poison and fear and things like that.
Oh, okay. It's just regular food, so careful if you conjure the sushi, you leave it out too long and it's just going to go bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can still have your tacos and sushi. I mean, some of us prefer tacos and hot dog instead of tacos and sushi, but whatever. Anyway, more of a taco man myself, but hey, won't judge if you're more the hot dog. Bracelet of Comfort. This bubble enhances this effect of the Mark of Hospitality. If the wearer uses the lesser Mark of Hospitality to cast Lehman's Secure Shelter, she receives the following benefits. The duration of the shelter is increased by 12 hours. The shelter is always formed from stone, even if stone is rare in the region. The temperature inside the hut is maintained at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, just like Lehman's tiny hut.
Mm.
The furnishings in the shelter include 8 comfortable beds, 8 armchairs, a dining table, a writing desk, a bookshelf, a mirror, and a covered latrine. There is a basin for bathing, although water is not provided. The caster can set the tone of the decor. The shelter can include a carpet or wall hangings, but like the furniture, these objects disappear if they are removed from the shelter.
It's a Harry Potter tent.
Yes. but from a Lehman's Secure Shelter, which is like a really low-level basic spell. So the fact that the duration increases over 12 hours, this is like a second-level character or third-level character just popping out a spell that could last and provide shelter and security for a whole night without the need for like a watch and all that. It's awesome. Yeah. This is one of those occasions when a Mark of Hospitality can be really good in the group. You get one of these bracelets and you're just golden, really. Collar of the Wild Bond. This leather collar is studded with small dragon shards attuned to the Mark of Handling. Each collar of the Wild Bond has an associated key, a small dragon shard embedded in a metal disc. A character with the Dominate Animal ability of the Lesser Mark of Handling can use the disc to dominate the creature that is wearing the collar. This does not require the character to expend the power of his mark, and the duration lasts for as long as the target creature continues to wear the collar and remains in range. The maximum range of the effect is 100 feet plus 10 feet per character level. Again, this is really good, especially if you're playing in that kind of adventuring, swashbuckling kind of way that the setting kind of provides. If your airship's gone down, if you're getting that standard Indiana Jones kind of adventure going on, your plane's gone down, what are you going to do? Oh, look, there's some horses over there. We'll try to wrangle them. Here's an easy way to wrangle the horses.
Yeah, I can see that one.
The Diadem of Focus Passage. This silver circlet enhances the powers of a character with the Mark of Passage. The Diadem is a shard focus that increases the wearer's effective caster level by 2 for purposes of using her mark. In addition, if the wearer has the teleport ability of the Greater Mark of Passage, it allows her to treat a location as one step more familiar than it actually is to her. A destination she has seen casually counts as studied carefully, for example, for purposes of determining how well she arrives on target. The diadem provides no benefit if she tries to teleport to a false destination.
Okay.
Do you want me to go over that one?
The Diadem of Sharpened Senses?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want, looks like they're giving us one item per mark.
Yeah. Although, technically, I guess the passage has had 2 marks now.
True.
Because they had the Astral Beacon before.
That's true. That's true. Here, let me take it. Let me do a few of these since you've knocked out like 4 or 5 of them. Diadem of Sharpened Senses, formed from brass. This circlet focuses the power of the Mark of Detection. If the wearer possesses the mark, he gains the following benefits. He can use any least mark spell-like ability at will. If he has the least mark if he has the lesser mark of detection, he can use any lesser mark spell-like abilities 3 times per day. When using the detect scrying ability of the lesser mark of detection, he gains a +5 insight bonus on his opposed caster level check. Okay, so basically, wear this, and you're a better detective.
Pretty much.
Okay. Helm of the Sentinel. A multitude of eyes are engraved on the surface of this helmet. The pupils are tiny dragon shards attuned to the mark of Sentinel. Once per day, the wearer can create a contingency effect that triggers one of his Mark of Sentinel spell-like abilities when a certain condition is met. For example, a character with the greater Mark of Sentinel might set his Globe of Invulnerability ability to activate if he is targeted by a spell, or his shield to activate if he is about to be struck by a magic missile. The contingency is negated if the character removes the helm, and the helm can only have one contingency active at a time. Huh. Interesting. I mean, for a guild of bodyguards, that would make sense. House Ward. This item enhances the effect of the following abilities of the Mark of Warding: Alarm, Guards and Wards, Misdirection, Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound, and Non-Detection. If the ability is cast on an area that contains the house word, or on a person or object within 20 feet of the house word, its duration is increased by a factor of 24 to a number of days per caster level rather than hours. So again, more bodyguard stuff. Inquisitive Goggles. A dragon shard is positioned between the lens of these cumbersome goggles, making them a boon to the Tharashk Inquisitive. To access the power of the goggles, the wearer must possess the lesser, greater, or Sybaris mark of finding. If this condition is met, the wearer can use the goggles to see the trace auras formed by the passage of living creatures. This ability provides the following benefits. When examining an object, the wearer can make a search check to identify the aura of the last living creature to touch it. The DC is 15 plus the number of days since the last contact occurred. If the wearer is familiar with the being who left the aura, he can identify the owner of the aura. Otherwise, he can simply determine the creature's type. Once the wearer has identified an aura, he receives a +5 insight bonus on any survival checks made to track the creature that left the aura, as long as he continues wearing the goggles. And when the wearer uses Locate Creature, the goggles allow him to follow the recent movements of his target. So short answer, put this on your ranger, folks. The wearer receives a +2 insight bonus on all sense motive checks he makes while wearing the goggles.
Any half-orc with the mark, what's that? The mark of finding, and who's a ranger, they're basically going to be an unstoppable tracking machine.
I know where you are. I will find you.
Okay, the key charm. While they are almost trivially simple to produce, these charms are critically important to the warding services of House Kundarak. When a character uses the Mark of Warding to cast Alarm, Arcane Lock, Explosive Runes, or Fire Trap, she can invest ownership of the spell into a key charm. Whoever holds the charm is considered to be the caster of the spell for purposes of bypassing its effect, or receiving the mental alert from an alarm. The charm has no inherent powers, and if the spell it is linked to expires, it is considered to be a mundane object, although a dragon-marked character could link it to a new warding spell. Which, yeah, it's 150 gold to make, and you can basically bind it to any kind of abjuration style ward, basically, which that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for a warding service, it's like, oh, here's a lock, here's a trap, whatever. You know, it's a nice, simple little item, like you said, for 150 gold. You know, easily accessible to characters. Yeah.
Lightning reins. Oh, now we're starting to get into some things. Modeled after the reins a mundane coach driver uses to control the horses pulling the coach, these long leather cords are fixed to the helm of a House Orion lightning rail coach. By gripping the lightning reins, a character with the dimension door ability of the Lesser Mark of Passage can telepathically control the air elemental bound into the coach, forcing it to move the coach as the Dragon Mark air desires. Since a lightning rail coach must follow a pathway of conductor spheres, there is little control involved beyond determining the speed of travel, but an uncontrolled coach quickly either comes to a halt or accelerates until it leaves the pathway of conductor spheres and crashes into the ground.
So basically, it's a magical throttle.
Pretty much. Pen of the Scribe. This long ink pen, formed of silver and copper with a thin dragon shard at its core, is an invaluable tool for the scribes of House Civis. In the hands of a character with the mark of scribing, it has the following powers. It never runs out of ink. The user can change the color of the ink produced by the pen as a free action by speaking the name of the desired color in Gnome. It doubles the speed at which a character can write. A character cannot use the pen to scribe a scroll or record a spell in a spellbook, since both tasks require special inks, but it increases the speed at which the character can use illusory script or the forgery skill, for example. It provides a +5 insight bonus on forgery checks made to duplicate written material. Now, this was really, really interesting because that middle one, it doubles the speed at which a character can write. It cannot scribe a scroll or record a spell in a spellbook, since both require special inks. But it increases the speed at which the character can use illusory script or the forged skill, for example. Illusory script, and you are still muted, by the way. Illusory script is what's used to record spells in Dragon Shard spell tomes, though. So this can technically increase the time it takes to inscribe a new spell into a Dragon Shard spellbook.
Okay.
Doesn't work for a normal spellbook, but it would work for a Dragon Shard spellbook.
Interesting.
Yes.
I still like that Dragon Shard spellbook.
Oh, yeah.
Just in general.
Which, by the way, oh my god, I fell down a freaking rabbit hole the other day and discovered that... You remember how we were reading through the gods and like a lot of them had dragon forms?
Right.
So it turns out there might be a reason for that. So due to one reason or the other, like, okay, do you remember what the name of the blue dragon was that was with the Quattle? Okay. Aurelionatrix. Now,
just rolls off the tongue.
Absolutely, because they just love a simple name. However, do you know what part of his name is? Orion. As in the god Orion. Head of the Pantheon. I wonder why. Because he with the Quattle discovered the first dragon prophecy.
All right.
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, take over the Prospector's Rod. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. The Prospector's Rod. The short rod of cold iron is the key to House Thrash's mining operations. The Prospector's Rod amplifies the locate ability of the least mark of finding. If the wielder uses this ability while holding the rod, he gains the following benefits. The duration of the effect is extended, continuing for as long as the wielder concentrates on the desired object. And the user can specify a quantity of material to search for, 3 or more pounds of bishek, 100 gallons of water, and so on. The range is tripled. The rod cannot be used to locate specific objects. It can locate gold, but not a gold bracelet in the shape of a serpent biting its tail. Okay. Yeah, a lot of these are just really good, quote unquote, magic items anyways. So the rings of shared suffering. The rings are created in pairs. Character who possesses the Mark of Sentinel can at any time command his or her ring to cast a shield other spell with the wearer of the mated ring as the recipient. If the wearers of both rings have the Mark of Sentinel, either character can initiate the shield other effect, and both characters gain the benefit. They both gain the AC and saving throw bonuses, and damage from any attack on either character is split evenly between the two. The range of this effect is unlimited. Let's see. Scepter of Wild Dominion. This dense wood rod enhances the power of the Mark of Handling. While wielding the scepter, a character gains the following benefits. Caster level increased by 2. DC of the saving throws for the Dragon Mark spell-like ability increased by 2. May use Dragon Mark spell-like abilities that normally only affect animals. Scry Stone. A character with the scrying ability of the Lesser Mark of Shadow or the greater scrying ability of the Sybaris Mark of Shadow can use this item instead of a mirror as the focus of that power. A Scry Stone allows the user to communicate telepathically with the willing creature whose image appears in the Scry Stone, sending and receiving mental images for the duration of the scrying or the scrying effect. Skyforge. A Skyforge allows a character with the Fabricate ability of the Greater Mark of Making to use this ability on 100 cubic feet of material or 10 cubic feet of mineral material, 10 times the normal amount. The Forge is... oh my gosh. A small anvil made from cold iron and alchemical silver with a ring of small dragon shards around one larger shard.
Speaking Stone. This device is the key to long-distance communication across Corvair, powering the message stations of House Civis. A character who possesses the Whispering Wind ability of the least mark of scribing can use a Speaking Stone to send a message to any other Speaking Stone. The sender must know the location of the target stone. This effect is similar to that of the Whispering Wind spell. However, the message travels at a rate of 1 mile per minute and has no maximum range or length. Damn. In a Civis message station, a gnome is always on duty by the Speaking Stone, listening for any messages that may come in and scribing them upon receipt. Large cities, such as Shan, may contain multiple stone stations. Major stations often possess more than one Speaking Stone.
Okay.
Wheel of Wind and Water. This ornately carved wooden wheel resembles the helm of a mundane sailing ship, but it is mounted at the helm of an elemental galleon or a House Loranda airship. By gripping the wheel, a character with the Wind's Favor ability of the Lesser Mark of Storm can telepathically control the elemental bound into the vessel, forcing it to move the vessel as the Dragon Mark Air desires. If a Wheel of Wind and Water is mounted on a mundane sailing ship, a character with the Wind's Favor ability of the Lesser Mark of Storm can create an area of ideal conditions around the vessel, enabling it to sail at a rate of 6 miles per hour.
Okay.
Also, I'm disappointed. Yeah, don't mind that in the background. I am annoyedly disappointed that I had to go off screen momentarily there because I missed a few things I wanted to talk about. But
all right, what did you want to say? Bring it up.
Well,
I just kind of zoomed through them.
Yeah, the Skyforge is one of those things where I think, because I believe this came out before Races of Stone came out, so the Skyforge seems to be one of those things that they kind of played around with the idea of what a creation forge or what the origin of a creation forge might be.
Okay.
But then you've got in Races of Stone full arcane forges. And it's like, now this feels like it's a lot closer to being the idea of what a creation forge was or is going to be. So it's I find it amusing that you've got the Sky Forge, which is like step 1 on the creation forge path. Then you've got in Races of Stone the arcane forges, and they're like step 2, and then step 3 is you just kind of go bonkers with those two concepts and create a creation forge.
Because, like, why not?
Yeah. Crafting Sybaris Shard items. Creating a magic item that incorporates the Sybaris Dragon Shard is generally similar to making any other magic item of an equivalent kind. Naturally, a Dragon Shard is a required part of the raw materials cost, and the Dragon Shard must usually be attuned to a particular mark before it can be fashioned into a focus item. A Dragon Mark character can only attune a Dragon Shard to the mark of his own house, not to any other mark. Attuning a Dragon Shard requires 1 day added to the creation time for a shard item, but has no cost in GP or XP. Once the Dragon Shard is attuned, crafting the item follows the same process as crafting any other magic item.
Okay.
So this is providing me with a ton of annoyance, right? Because that doesn't make any sense in crafting rules.
Why? Well, normally there's a gold or an XP cost, but this you're not really crafting the item. You're just focusing it. So you're trying to attune you're trying to attune the Sybaris Shard to a dragon mark.
Yeah, and to its spell-like power. That I will get, right?
Right.
It's 1 day of attuning where you've got to basically, out of the crafting time, you've got to be spending 1 day attuning the item for that purpose. I get that.
Okay.
What I don't get is how it then comes together. Because, so once the Dragon Shard is attuned, crafting the item follows the same process as crafting any other magic item. Well, if it follows the same process as doing any other magic item, if there's no reduction in the cost, if there's no change in the cost, what's the benefit of the Dragon Shard item, of the Dragon Shard in the first place?
I don't understand. Repeat the question.
Okay. So you're taking a day to attune the shard so that it works for that.
The mark of making.
Yeah, it works for the mark of making, right? However, you then use that shard on whatever the magic item is that you're making. Let's say the Skyforge, right? But as it says right here, once the Dragon Shard is attuned, crafting the item follows the same process as crafting any other magic item. So it's the exact same cost plus an extra day.
Sure.
So what's the benefit of the Dragon Shard?
Well, the whole point to the Dragon all right, so this is kind of how I've been envisioning this. Okay.
Yeah.
So a Sybaris Dragon Shard is just a Sybaris Dragon Shard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's generic. It doesn't necessarily align with any particular item.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Right. So you're spending a day. It doesn't cost you any experience. It doesn't cost you any gold. It just takes you a day to attune the item. Meaning, like, say, and this is just kind of how I'm visualizing it. Say every dragon mark has a resonance frequency. And so you are, quote unquote, imbuing the dragon shard with this resonance frequency so that it applies to that particular dragon mark. Okay. Then you're crafting to actually make the item that uses the dragon shard. Follow the same crafting process to actually make the item, but now your dragon shard component has that resonance for the particular mark.
Okay. But let me take it from this angle, right? It costs 10,000 gold to make an arcane forge from the Races of Stone book, right?
Okay.
I want to add a Cerberus shard because I've got a human artificer who has the mark of making. What is that going to do other than make it take 41 days for me to make the arcane forge? It's going to make it take longer, essentially, to make the forge.
Well, okay. I mean, but it's not. It's, well, I mean, an arcane forge though isn't a dragon shard item.
No, but I'm using that as an example. If I used the dragon shard to make it a dragon shard item, according to the crafting Cerberus shard items rule right there, it doesn't change anything about it other than taking an extra day to make.
Right, but what's the benefit that you're going to get by making an arcane forge with a dragon shard?
Exactly.
Right, but you wouldn't. You would make a sky forge.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it doesn't seem like, according to the rules here, the mechanics given here, it provides no benefit.
Right, but in this, I don't like your example because in that case, my understanding is an arcane forge is just a generic D&D item. It's not an Eberron item.
It's a dwarven item, actually.
Okay, but my point being, it's not an item that requires a dragon shard. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas something like a sky forge, which sky forge allows a character with the fabricate ability of the greater mark of making.
Yeah.
Okay. So the sky forge is specifically designed to enhance a dragon mark. Okay. So I would all right. So I don't have to attune or do anything with a dragon shard for an arcane forge. It's not part of the process. I do have to do it for a sky forge because it is part of the process. The item is designed to enhance my dragon mark ability.
Okay, but let me pose you this question, right? I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but the rules on crafting an Eberron shard item is that it is the Eberron shard, which is like something like 100 to 500 gold pieces in cost, essentially takes up the cost of the material components required for the spell, right?
Well, but hold on. That's for an Eberron shard.
Yeah,
remember,
I know,
hold on. Remember, Eberron shards are quote unquote neutral. They're utilitarian. Cerberus shards are blessings, are bonuses for your dragon mark abilities.
And as we'll find out later, also psionics and divine abilities as well.
Okay, but again, I think you're getting a little a little too into the weeds because like it's
Of
like,
course I am. I'm playing a freaking artificer.
no, that's fine. But again, in this particular case, Sybaris shard items enhance your mark. So you have to attune the dragon shard to make it work with your mark. An Eberron shard is just utilitarian. It doesn't care about your mark.
Okay. This is what I'm getting at, right?
I was gonna say I think there's a miscommunication here somewhere because I'm not seeing the problem on this.
Okay. So to create the Skyforge, you need to have a caster level of 12, craft wondrous item, you need to know the fabricate spell, and the creator must have the mark of making, right?
Okay.
Now, the fabricate spell requires an additional something like 2,000 gold for the materials, right?
Okay.
So adding a Eberron Dragon Shard to the creation process for the fabricate spell in place of the fabricate spell would reduce the cost by 2,000 and add 100 gold to its total.
Okay.
So the price would become 25,300.
Okay.
That's a calculatable mechanical design in its function, right? And for as much as I fucking hate the Kyber Dragon Shard mechanics, it at least has a similar thing where it reduces for the size of the creature being bound within it above medium, so large and huge, it reduces the overall crafting cost by 5%, right?
Okay.
What does the Sybaris Dragon Shard actually provide?
The Sybaris Dragon Shard attunes it so that your mark can actually do something.
But your mark can do something regardless.
No, but it enhances your mark. You're right. Your mark can do something, like, so for this, for the Skyforge, okay,
Yeah.
allows a character with the fabricate ability of the greater mark of making to use this ability on 100 cubic feet of material or 10 cubic feet of mineral material.
10 times the normal amount.
Yeah. Right. So, but again, it's going to need a Sybaris shard to attune it to the dragon mark.
Yeah, but if you do the maths on it, it already works out that that's what the calculation already does. There's no like discernible crafting calculation that the Sybaris Dragon Mark has actually had an effect on.
No, you have to put the Sybaris Dragon Shard into the item that you are making.
After this, we need to go over how the crafting rules work in D&D 3.5. You'll see what I mean. This makes no sense.
It does make sense. Creating a magic item that incorporates a Sybaris Dragon Shard is generally similar to making any other magic item of an equivalent kind.
Exactly.
Naturally, a Dragon Shard is a required part of the raw materials cost, and the Dragon Shard must usually be attuned to a particular mark before it can be fashioned into a focus item. So, all the items we just read over are all Sybaris items. So, you have to have a Sybaris shard. It has to be attuned to a particular mark, and it is used as part of the crafting process.
Yeah, no. I get all that.
Then what are we arguing over?
Because the mechanics aren't there. The mechanics don't make any sense.
Why not? Okay, all right. This is gonna be a super cheesy example.
Right.
Okay. An Eberron or a Sybaris Dragon Shard is like a piano. Okay. It can make music, but until you press the key to get a particular tone out of the piano, it doesn't do anything. It just sits there. So you have to press the key. You have to give it a tone. That's why I said, that's why in my head, the way I'm envisioning this is it's a resonance.
Yeah, I get that idea. I do. I get the fluff of what it means, but I'm talking about before the piano is even built, building the piano. What's the point? What's the difference between using a dragon shard to using a metal string for the piano as normal?
Because the piano isn't connected to the dragon mark.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if it doesn't have that requirement, then anyone can use it. And it's the same general cost.
No.
Yeah. That's how the maths works out. The Sybaris Dragon Shard doesn't seem to do anything mechanically except to put a restriction on. It doesn't reduce the cost of how much it should be costing to make that item. I'm saying this as someone who has tried to figure out how to make custom Sybaris Dragon Shard items and can't figure out what. Yes, I know. She's giggling next to me.
I just like the fact that she put in math/S. So
yes, she's
humoring both of us. Thank you, Graham.
It should be better than that.
No, I'm not seeing the issue here.
Okay. If we took out the Sybaris Dragon Shard of the, let's say, the Skyforge, right?
Then it has no link to your mark, and it won't enhance your mark and allow you to use it 10 times more effectively than you normally would.
Yes, but if we remove the Sybaris Dragon Shard from the equation, then it becomes an item that anyone can use to replicate the fabricate spell at that level.
No.
That's what I'm talking about with the mechanics.
Well, no, because even in the mechanics, creator must have the mark of making.
Yes, no, I get that. But that doesn't translate to any kind of like reduction in the cost.
Why would it?
Or change in the cost.
Why would it? And?
Well, that's the whole point, is that things like that would reduce the cost, but it doesn't.
Why would it reduce the cost? It's just a requirement to make the item.
Because it's applying a restriction to it, which in the crafting rules in the DMG says that it should apply one of two different kinds of reductions. It applies none.
Well,
which means you can just as easily remove that creator must have the mark of
look,
making
in this
and still get the exact same item.
look,
but
in
anyone
this
can use.
particular toolbox, just do whatever you want, and it doesn't matter. There's, you know, like all crafting is created equal.
I just want some shit that makes sense, okay?
No, I don't know why this isn't making sense. This makes perfect sense to me. This is an Eberron item for an Eberron ability. So if you want to do this, you have to follow the rules of the world of Eberron.
Yeah, no, I get that. But it also encourages that section there on crafting magic, crafting Cerberus items, also essentially encourages the artificer to make custom items. How
Right.
do you then make custom items from a Cerberus Dragon Shard?
Well, you don't reduce the cost just because you have to have a Cerberus Dragon Shard in it. That's for sure.
Well, then what's the point of the Dragon Shard?
To
If you can
link
get
it
the
up
exact
to
same
a
thing out of it.
No, to link it up to a Dragon Mark ability.
But you don't need to.
If you want the ability that ties into the Dragon Shard, you do, or the Dragon Mark.
No, because you can just add it as fluff. DMG says that too.
I don't understand what your hang-up is here. This makes perfect sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense. It is one of my it annoys me to no small endeavor because I've been trying to figure out how to goddamn use Cerberus Dragon Shards for 2 years in trying to figure out where to use them for my artificer, and I cannot figure out what the hell they are meant to be used for or how to use them, how to get anything out of them.
So
they're pointless.
Are you doing anything with a Dragon Mark?
No.
There you go. Then it's useless.
No. As you'll see in other books, once we get to them in 3572, you don't need a Dragon Mark for other Dragon Shard items, for other Cerberus items. Like, for example, Fates of Eberron, the
well, if you want it to be,
focus.
If you want it to match up to a Dragon Mark ability, if you do.
Okay, but if you don't, what's the benefit out of it?
It enhances your Dragon Mark.
But if it's not for a Dragon Mark, if you're trying to use it for a Divine Focus,
then you don't have to attune it to a Dragon Mark.
Then what's the point of the Dragon Shard?
I don't know. It's a crafting component.
That doesn't serve any purpose. It doesn't provide anything.
Well, clearly it provides some sort of attenuation to a Dragon Mark.
It provides fluff, and that annoys the crap out of me.
No, it doesn't. Because, that's how you build a world. Next thing I know, you're going to be saying, you know what? Just give the dwarf the mark of making. Or, whatever. Who cares? Everybody gets a Dragon Mark.
You're going to torture me with that, aren't you? Because I've just done this to you.
Yes! That's literally the point here.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is, because it's throwing in a restriction. If you want to make this item, you have to have this thing.
But no, it's not that. It's not that I have a problem with the Skyforge being made the way it is. It's the fact that if I try... Really? You moved over that way for a reason, so I couldn't hit you. It's that you can't make like custom or new magic items with a Cerberus Dragon Shard because it doesn't add anything that you couldn't add normally to the creation process.
Unless you want to tie it into your dragon mark.
Yes, but as I was saying, it can also enhance a divine caster level as well. So, as it's pointed out in Fates of Eberron. So how?
So in that case, it's not attuned to a particular dragon mark. It's attuned to deity or the progenitor dragon or whatever that is bestowing blessings upon the peoples of Eberron.
Or that Rakshasa Raja for the Silver Flame?
I mean, no, like again, I can see it being needed. Okay, actually, you know what? That actually. I am so tired today, which is why I'm probably not thinking on my feet as quickly as I should be. But that actually does bring up a good point. Let's go back to the very beginning when we were talking about Dragon Shard alignments.
Yep.
Okay. What did I say about Cerberus Dragon Shards? They give blessings.
Yes.
Okay. If it's being used to enhance divine magic, what is divine magic? It is usually a blessing of some kind. It is a blessing from deity. It is a blessing from faith. So it's Cerberus Dragon Shard being used to enhance and attune divine abilities, divine blessings, divine manifestations of faith. 100% fits in my head as to why you would need a Cerberus Dragon Shard.
I get that.
Okay, even the psionic abilities, even the quarry stuff that we're going to get to here in a second, maybe if we ever move forward from this argument. And no, I'm not saying we have to stop the argument. It's an interesting conversation. But even then, the quarry, treat their psychic abilities as a divine manifestation. And so again, the Cerberus Dragon Shard is absolutely appropriate for that.
So you're saying it's all a kind of divine blessing.
That is how my brain would interpret it.
Well, would you say then that the Cerberus Dragon Shards would be equatable to, say, the material of an Ioun Stone then?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, for crying out loud. I'm going to bring this up on Drek on Sunday.
That's perfectly fine.
Then we can have Game Masters who knows what an Ioun Stone is, and he can chime in.
Give me the 2-sentence version description.
No, Ioun is a Greyhawk goddess.
Okay. So it's an Ioun Stone.
It floats around your head, gives you abilities.
Okay. So yeah, again, this is this makes perfect sense to me. If you use a Cerberus Dragon Shard and attune it to a particular dragon mark, it will enhance that particular dragon mark ability as a blessing.
Psionic or divine.
Hold on. No. If you attune it to a particular dragon mark, it will enhance that particular dragon mark. If you attune it to a divine ability, healing, laying on hands, cure disease, whatever, It is enhancing a blessing, a divine manifestation. If you attune it to your psychic abilities, again, a divine manifestation, a divine blessing, totally is what a Sybaris Dragon Shard should be used for. If you want to also use an Eberron Dragon Shard to remove some of the material components required to make your item, again, totally appropriate. It is a neutral item. It is a utilitarian item. It is a stick. It is a rock. It is a whatever. It is a generic, it is a material component to be used for this process. Does it need to be attuned? No, because it's straight up utilitarian. It doesn't care.
Okay, how about this? You've got a war cleric, right?
Okay.
Of the sun.
Sure.
So probably Dollara or someone like that.
That
right?
guy.
You've got a Kyber Dragon Shard with a bound fire elemental in it, so that the staff produces a flaming burst or a burning effect whenever it smacks an evil creature.
Okay.
You've got up to maybe 5 Eberron Dragon Shards as the material component attuned to up to 5 different spells in the staff.
Okay.
And then you've got a Sybaris Dragon Shard at the top as the focus for the divine power. Is that going to work then?
Okay. Why not?
Well, if you've got a divine aspect as in the form of Sybaris, and then you've got the evil aspect in the form of
hold on. Remember, we didn't say they were good, neutral, or evil. I said what they sort of applied to. Okay.
So the affinity of it.
Right. A Sybaris Dragon Shard is enhancement. It is blessing. It is, improving upon. Okay. An Eberron Dragon Shard is utility. It is neutral. It just I don't care who you are. I'm just going to do the work. Okay. The Kyber Dragon Shard is I am going to bind this. I am going to control this. I'm going to take this power in on myself. Okay. But is that necessarily bad? Probably not necessarily. Okay. And remember, these are the progenitor dragons. Kyber was throwing they're quote unquote brothers or sisters or whatever. Kyber's throwing a fit. Eberron,
doesn't give a shit.
No, says, look, knock it off. You're pissing everyone off, and contains him. And Sybaris is just like,
Sybaris.
What?
After killing Sybaris.
After killing Sybaris. So, again, it's this is how my brain is interpreting it, and it makes perfect sense. And I have no idea why you're fighting so hard against this. I don't understand why you don't get. You know what? It's actually kind of funny, because I've been doing some extra church stuff this last week, and I think that's just where my head is. It still makes sense to me. I still don't get why you're not getting it.
No. I get the fluff aspect of it, right? The lore aspect, the connection to the setting and all that, right? But what I'm getting at is, as a player who's playing an artificer, I don't know how the mechanics incorporate the item, what effect it's meant to have.
Well, again,
It's fine. We are
no,
way over.
no. We're no, because if we end it here, then everybody like okay, you know what? If you're watching this later, please put down in the comments who's right. Is it me? Is it Seraphis? I know it's me, but you can tell me. You can try and tell me why it's Seraphis. I'll still disagree with you. No, because I mean, clearly this is something that you've been stuck on, so I'd like to get this figured out on your behalf. I think the biggest thing that you're kind of hung up on is, well, so part of it is this 1 day of attunement, you know, like you know, because also that's another key word. The Dragon Shard must usually be attuned to a particular mark before it can be fashioned into a focus item.
Yes.
Usually. Okay. But what if it's being used for a divine for a divine caster?
Yeah.
Well, the divine caster doesn't have a dragon mark. Okay. So, you know, do we need to attune it? No. You know, we can use the general resonance of a Sybaris shard. But if I want to attune it to the mark of making, if I want to attune it to the mark of healing, if I want to attune it to the mark of hospitality, I will spend an extra day to tune in that resonance, to get it on its particular frequency that it needs to be. But otherwise, it's completely optional. I think that I seriously think that's where you're stuck. Because if no dragon marks involved, cool, toss the crystal in. It'll get the same effect.
But how though?
By existing?
Yes, but then it's just anywhere between a 2 and 10,000 gold material item being thrown into the cost of the item.
Okay, is it needed for the item?
But that's what I'm saying. How is it needed for the item?
Well,
how is
I mean,
crafting any kind of custom Sybaris shard item even a point then?
Okay, well, so again, so far all we've talked about is stuff that is attuned to particular dragon marks.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to make a new item focused on a dragon mark, well, yeah, you need your Sybaris dragon shard.
Yeah, no. I'm accepting that part. What
Okay.
I'm bringing up is you want to create a custom item, right?
Sure.
And say for a cleric, right?
Okay.
What benefit does the dragon shard actually give that not using a dragon shard would just make the item cost less?
Well, first off, I haven't read enough to see like here, let's zoom out. So we've got Corey embedded shards. Okay, so then hold on. Is that stuff that comes out of Magic of Eberron? Seraphis? You're muted.
Yeah, I know.
Is that stuff that comes out of Magic of Eberron?
What do you mean?
The like using the Sybaris shard for divine magic?
Fates of Eberron.
Okay. In 3827, we'll talk about that.
Fair enough.
but I have no reference material right now. You've started this whole argument on a book that's who knows how far out.
But the point is that they had it here. Why have it here?
Where did they have it? No. The only thing they had here was items to enhance a dragon mark.
No, but... Okay, let's move on. This is getting insane. Kore embedded shards. God damn it. Kalashtar Scions and the inspired Lords of Riadra make use of all the different types of psionic items found in the expanded psionics handbook. See Eberron Shard items below for more information. But they have also found a way to draw on the power of the Siberys shards. An inspired or Kalashtar character can undergo a painful process that actually embeds a dragon shard in her body. Once the link is formed, the shard acts as a lens for the power of the Kore spirit within the character, providing her with enhanced physical or mental abilities. A psionic creature can activate or deactivate an embedded shard as a standard action. Doing this requires a command thought and does not provoke an attack of opportunity. While a shard is active, the stone glows with a dim radiance. Some shards have more dramatic appearances.
All right. Here, I'm gonna zip through just a bunch of these. Aura Mask. This shard holds an imprint of a complete personality designed by the creator of the item. Cool. Item for sneaking. Crystalline Eye. The bearer may see by means of this shard as if it were an additional eye. A crystalline eye shard is often placed in the palm of the hand, allowing the bearer to peer around corners or over barriers by extending only his hand past the obstruction. Cool. It's a extra eyeball. Ectoplasmic Armor. This shard provides the bearer with a +2 armor bonus to armor class when it is active. The bearer's body is surrounded by a ghostly image of a monstrous Kore form. Okay, that's kind of cool just from the description. But it's psychic armor. Okay, great. Ectoplasmic Fist. This shard must be implanted on the hand, forearm, or foot, and only one ectoplasmic fist shard can be implanted on any one limb. While active, the shard surrounds the associated limb with a ghostly outline of a Kore limb. Allows the bearer to make unarmed attacks without provoking attacks of opportunity from opponents. Okay, so it's Hulk gloves. You know, like the little Incredible Hulk gloves that you give to kids. You know. Anyway.
Yes, I do.
Faceted Persona. A Faceted Persona shard is attuned to one of the 6 character abilities. While active, it provides a +2 enhancement bonus to this ability. Multifaceted Persona. This shard provides a +2 enhancement bonus to a single ability score, just like a Faceted Persona shard. However, the bearer can take a standard action, spend 5 power points to shift the focus of the shard. Switching the bonus to a bit different ability. Pathfinder allows the bearer to know the direction, location or to use no direction and location at will. Shadow Sight. This shard provides its bearer with dark vision. Talent. A talent shard is attuned to one of the following skills: balance, concentration, blah 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 blah. Okay, provides about +5 bonus. Implanting a Kore shard. Find a doctor and shove it into your head. That's how it works.
Pretty much.
Okay. Let's see if we can get through magic items today.
My apologies.
No, it was a good conversation. But holy crap.
No, it wasn't. I have been told, no, it's not. It was not a good conversation.
I had fun.
Everyone shut up. Well, you know, apparently we're both on the spectrum. So, of course, we had fun arguing over this nuance. Speaking of spectrums. Anyway, Eberron shard items. Prospectors find Eberron shards buried in soil, never deep in rock. They typically appear in clusters encased in geodes. They are found on Corvair and RNL exclusively and may be tied to the development of dragon marks. Inside the pinkish crystal of each Eberron shard are writhing swirls of deep red, which is why these shards are commonly known as bloodstones. Like other dragon shards, Eberron shards display a remarkable affinity for magic, but this affinity is very broad compared to the specific uses of Sybaris and Kyber shards. A
Huh.
spell
It's generic. It's neutral. It's utilitarian. Continue.
A spellcaster can attune an Eberron shard to a specific spell, enhancing the effect of the spell when it is cast on the shard.
Wait. To a spell, not a dragon mark.
Yes.
So it's utilitarian in nature.
Oh my god.
I did it for Grim.
Uh-huh. Enhancing the effect of the spell when it is cast on the shard. Lantern is one example. Wizards can encode their spells in Eberron shards instead of scribing them on paper, and as described in Chapter 6, Adventuring Equipment. In addition to the items described here, the following magic items from the Dungeon Master's Guide are normally made using Eberron shards: spell storing weapons, ring of spell storing, ring of counter spells, ring of wizardry, ring of absorption, metal magic rods, pearl of power, and the bead of karma on a strand of prayer beads. In addition, intelligent magic items frequently incorporate Eberron shards. So we've got Orion's spell shard. Yeah, that's not surprising considering the Blue Dragon discovered the Dragon Prophecies in the first place. So, yep. Eternal Wands. Now, yep, we've got Eternal Wands here. So basically, they function twice a day. Everbright Lantern, basically a continual flame spell. Illumination up to 60 feet cone. And Scrying Shard. A large Eberron shard attuned to the Scrying spell can serve as a portable focus for that spell.
All right. Crafting an item that incorporates an Eberron shard requires first attuning the shard to the spell it will hold. Not a dragon mark. Not a divine ability. Just, any spell.
Let it go. He's still going.
Attuning a shard is equivalent to creating a wondrous item with a market price of 100 gold pieces. This requires 1 day of work, and the craft wondrous item feat and costs 50 gold pieces and 4 XP. For an item such as an Everbright Lantern, which is nothing more than a permanent spell cast upon an attuned Eberron shard, this cost is added to the cost of other materials in the item and represents the only magic item creation involved in making the item. For an item such as an Eternal Wand, the cost of attuning the shard is added to the cost to create the item, and its equivalent market price is added to the market price of the item. Eberron Dragon Shards can be used to create Power Stones, the psionic equivalent of scrolls. Both the Kalashtar and Inspired seek out Eberron Shards for this purpose. Kyber Shard items. Kyber Shards grow on the walls of volcanic caverns deep underground, usually near pools of magma or sulfur vents. They are particularly common in areas tied to fiendish or elemental activities such as the Demon Waste, though they are found across Eberron. They are smoky crystals with colored veins of midnight blue to oily black. Their affinity is for magic of binding. Thus, crafting a bound elemental item requires binding the elemental to a Kyber shard, and these shards are common components of binding diagrams, trap the soul spells, and similar magic. Kyber shards are sometimes called night shards or demon stones. Let's see. When a character binds an elemental to a suit of armor, the armor gains one of the following properties. A Kyber shard is incorporated into the armor, usually set into the center of the chest. Burning, where it gains resistance to cold 3 times. Okay. Anyways, burning, stone meld, underwater action, whirlwind. Okay. You get abilities related to elements.
Yes.
Same kind of thing for weapon properties.
Exactly.
Elemental
vessels.
Where is that?
Next page.
Next page. All right.
The most dramatic implementation of the techniques of elemental binding is in the propulsion of large vessels. Starting with the invention of the lightning rail coach, the concept of elemental propulsion has grown and improved over the past 187 years, creating a network of moderately fast travel across the continent of Corvair and beyond. The lightning rail, developed to connect the unified kingdom of Galifar and replace the King's Road, provided the first easy means of travel and shipping across the continent of Corvair. It took many years for the artificers of the dragon-marked houses to apply the principle of the lightning rail coach to other endeavors, first to sailing ships and later to flying ships. Both of these vessels were only developed during the final decade or so of the last war, and were never produced for warfare or on a large scale. Airships. Over the last decade, House Cannith and House Orion have developed flying vessels that use bound elementals as a motive force. An airship is a large craft similar to a sailing ship, long and shallow. Surrounded by a huge fire elemental bound into the form of a fiery ring, the bound elemental propels the ship at a fly speed of roughly 20 miles per hour, poor maneuverability. An airship requires a crew of 15 and can carry 30 tons of cargo. Elemental Galleon is a vessel that uses a bound air elemental to propel it at great speed over the water. Its basic shape, an elemental galleon, in basic shape, an elemental galleon is similar to a huge galley, but a massive tower rises from the rear of the vessel, supporting the huge air elemental bound into the form of a ring. The vessel usually runs on two fin-like structures. The bound elemental propels the galleon at a speed of 20 miles per hour across calm seas. An elemental galleon requires a crew of 20 and can carry 150 tons of cargo. Lightning rail coach. Unlike the other kinds of elemental vessels, a lightning rail coach relies upon the interaction between pairs of conductor stones to operate. As described in the wondrous item section later in the chapter, a pair of conductor stones creates a conduit through which the levitating coach can travel at a high speed. The actual propulsion is provided by an air elemental bound to the vessel. Compared to an airship or an elemental galleon, a lightning rail coach appears clumsy and unwieldy, but the conductor stone conduit allows it to move at a speed of about 25 miles an hour. A lightning rail coach requires a crew of 10 and can carry 50 tons of cargo. A coach can also tow a large number of passenger carts, each holding up to 200 passengers, and cargo carts, each holding up to 100 tons of cargo. These trailing carts are much like mundane wagons without wheels, but with conductor stones mounted on the bottom. Huzzah!
Hooray! Yes. Kyber dragon shards. Binding, controlling. Kind of like me. All right. Warforged components. The Warforged are living constructs, creations of magic, not entirely dissimilar to magic items themselves. A Warforged character can incorporate special magic items, from weapons and armor to rings and rods, called components, into its own partially living, partially constructed form. While theoretically any item can be crafted for this purpose, certain objects are specifically designed for use by Warforged characters. A bonded item can either be embedded into the body of a Warforged or attached to a limb. House Cannith created some of these during the last war. Others are more recent creations of the Lord of Blades, or the Warforged of the Mournland. Strangest of all are the components that have been recovered from Zendrick, suggesting the use of creatures much like the Warforged amongst the ancient civilizations that devastated the land. All right, I'm going to skip the section on controlling an elemental vehicle. All right, any character
rehashing.
What?
It's more or less just rehashing.
Yeah, I mean, it's specific rules on how to drive the vehicle. If you want to know, get the book. All right. Embedding or attaching a Warforged component. Any character capable of creating a magic item can make the same magic item as a Warforged component, and any Warforged character capable of using a magical item can use the same item as a Warforged component. Warforged components use the special rules given below and otherwise conform to the normal rules for creating and using magic items. A Warforged component usually occupies the same space on the body that a magic item of the same kind normally would. Components that do not occupy any space on the body cost twice what they would cost as ordinary magic items. These components only work when bonded to the body of a Warforged. They are not usable by members of any other race. There is no chance of damaging an embedded Warforged component when the Warforged rolls a 1 on a saving throw, and an embedded component cannot be targeted by an attack independently of the Warforged who bears it. Attached components, however, can be damaged and targeted. If a Warforged component requires activation, the character with the component can activate it with a thought. Doing this requires the same kind of action as for an ordinary magic item, but the Warforged can do it silently and without moving, and never provokes an attack of opportunity to activate a component. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's all boring. I want to skip all of that. All right, basic components. Basic components are ordinary magic items modified to serve as Warforged components or specially designed components with no unusual characteristics. Arm blade. This large metal cylinder with a heavy serrated sword blade at one end attaches to a Warforged. It fits over the hand and forearm. An arm blade is a +1 bastard sword and requires the exotic weapon proficiency feat to use it properly. While the weapon is attached, the Warforged cannot be disarmed, but the Warforged also cannot use that hand for other tasks without removing the arm blade. In addition, the wielder gains a +2 bonus on opposed attack rolls made to disarm an opponent. Armbow. This +2 repeating light crossbow is formed from dense wood, and it has an unusually thick and rounded stock. It attaches to the arm of a Warforged, completely covering the hand. This component only operates when attached and locked in place. An armbow magically loads and fires with a thought as a standard action. So it's a magic crossbow. Great. Battle Fist. Attached component. This +1 weapon resembles a massively oversized spiked gauntlet. One designed for a medium Warforged looks like a gauntlet designed for an ogre. It attaches the armor of Warforged, completely covering the hand. It only operates when attached and locked in place. Okay, so it's a turn your hand into a club. Disc of energy resistance. This metallic disc is engraved with runes of warding, and a colored gemstone is set at its center. When embedded in the chest of a Warforged, this disc occupies space on the body as an amulet and grants the character resistance to one type of energy: acid, cold, electricity, fire, or sonic. Essence of the Scout. This dark metal disc is engraved with symbols representing silence and stealth. When embedded in the chest of a Warforged, it occupies space on the body as an amulet and grants the character a +5 competence bonus on hide and move silently checks. Greater Essence of the Scout. Improved Essence of the Scout. Final Messenger. This component is an intricate assemblage of clockwork and filigree wings designed to serve as a communication device within Warforged units. A Final Messenger occupies space as an amulet, drawing energy from its Warforged hosts. So it's a drone.
Yes, that you can have that you can have programmed to send off to a ally or something, to let them know that you've been killed.
Okay, it's a drone.
Yep.
All right. Wand sheath. This narrow sheath is embedded in the forearm and hand of a Warforged character, occupying space as if it were a bracer. Once it is in place, the Warforged can insert a normal magic wand into the sheath, whereupon it merges with the character's body. The sheath can hold a single wand. Once a wand is inserted, it cannot be removed until all its charges are used up, at which point the wand drops out of the sheath and a new one can be inserted. So I mean, I guess it's kind of cool because you don't have to hold the wand and you can't drop it.
Well, yeah, and so you've effectively got like, I mean, you know, if you make it a Wand of Magic Missile, you can basically have a caster level 9 Magic Missile on hand all the time that, you know, you've got 50 charges in that you can just constantly know that you've got an attack spell ready.
I got Spider-Man hands. Pachoo, pachoo, pachoo.
Oh, yeah. Webbing as well, I guess that works too.
Anyways, all right. All right, take the docent components.
A docent is a small metal sphere approximately 2 inches across, studded with gems or dragon shards. Explorers have found them in Zendrick, and artificers and warforged alike have so far failed to discover the secret of their construction. Despite a strong magical aura, a docent has no apparent abilities. Its powers are only revealed when it is attached to a warforged, taking up space of an amulet. At this point, a docent comes to life, literally. A docent is an intelligent magic item designed to advise and assist the warforged it is attached to. A docent allows the standard rules for determining alignment for intelligent items. However, it differs from normal intelligent items in other ways. Basically, there's a few restrictions on it. It has less rules than the DMG's standard intelligent magic item, but it's more designed to be something that assists rather than like can do damage and things like that. That's basically what it is.
It's Bob.
It's Bob.
Okay, clearly you have not read the Dresden Files.
No, we've gone over that before. I have not read Dresden.
Oh, you should. Anyway, it's a okay. So in Dresden Files, basically, there's this. Well,
is it left hand?
No, it's in the books. Basically, it's a wisdom or an intelligent spirit.
Okay.
That's bound to a skull, and so essentially, it's more or less like a tutor for Dresden, because he's a wizard. Yeah. And so it's like this. Has an intelligence score of 2d6 plus 8 and a wisdom and charisma score of 2d6 plus 6. Perceives its surroundings, communicates telepathically to serve as a translator. So
likes porn.
Likes porn. Anyways, so yeah, as far as the docent is concerned, as far as I'm concerned, yes, it's Bob. So
I would call it left hand for me, but that's just my reference.
Which is a reference to what?
Vampire Hunter D.
Didn't watch it.
Yeah.
So,
or read any of the 30+ novels for it, apparently.
No, I did not. And apparently, looks like you can create it and give it additional abilities.
Yes, up to 3, I believe.
I mean, regardless, there are a lot of options.
Yes. The anti-scrying one I find particularly amusing.
Yeah. That's fair.
Artifact components. House Kenneth used a mighty artifact known as the Creation Forge to create its Warforged army. But there are those who say that House Kenneth did not build the Creation Forge on its own, that critical schemas that formed the pattern of the forge were recovered from Zendrick. Whether or not this is true, a number of Warforged components have been found in Zendrick, the docents already described, as well as other powerful components beyond the skills of modern artificers to create. These artifacts can greatly enhance the power of any Warforged lucky enough to attach them to his body. Circlet of Preservation. This heavy torque of blackened adamantine with glittering rubies embedded in the ends, just to fit the neck of any medium Warforged. If a Warforged character attaches the circlet reveals its power to the bearer. The torque is designed to absorb the consciousness of a Warforged when its body is critically damaged, and to repair its injuries. The circlet restores 1 hit point of damage every 10 minutes, even if the bearer has been reduced below -9 hit points. As soon as the character's hit point Total rises above -9. His consciousness is restored to his body. So basically, it's a way to keep Warforged characters alive.
I was gonna say it's like, so what?
But it's an artifact component.
Right. It is made of spell hardened adamantine and has a hardness of 25 and 50 hit points. So you'd have to destroy the circlet to fully destroy the Warforged.
Yeah. However, it's an artifact, so you can't create it. I mean, you could, but you'd have to guesstimate most of it. With the only other thing going on is whatever it is, you've got to make everything cast at level 20, which is going to be a highly expensive item.
I mean, when you're effectively making a Warforged immortal, I would think that would, be kind of pricey.
Well, no, it can only be repeated every 24 hours, so once a day.
Yeah, sure, but again, effectively, you're making the Warforged immortal.
Well, once a day, you get to revive.
Close enough for government work.
Turek belt. This belt of woven mithril threads etched with designs of fabulous beasts and studded with pulsing dragon shards grants the Warforged wearer the ability to transform its lower body into the form of a fantastic Leonin beast, a beautiful construct of mithril, steel, and darkwood. The bearer can shift between Turek and humanoid form as a standard action that does not provoke an attack of opportunity. Basically, this is going to make you look like a inevitable.
An inevitable?
Yes.
I have no idea what that is. I was going to say a centaur, but okay.
Yeah, so an inevitable is kind of like a construct. They come in several different forms. One of them is essentially a centaur-like thing.
Got it.
But it's a construct, so therefore, yeah, this is more making a Warforged this kind of inevitable.
Got it.
Yep.
All right. Traditional items. In addition to the magic items catering to Warforged, Dragonmarked, and Kalashtar characters, there are a few new items in Eberron that are useful to all characters. Potions and oils. Oil of repair. That obvious. Circle of sound. These magical rings are made in sets of 2. By whispering into one of these rings, the wearer can send a message to everyone wearing a ring from the same set. Oh, made in sets of 2 to 6. The range of this effect is 220 feet, and it has all the restrictions and advantages of the message spell. So, walkie-talkies.
Exactly.
Wondrous items. Conductor stones. These large glowing orbs are a necessary component of the lightning rail coaches run by House Orion. Alone, a single conductor stone has no peculiar properties except for glowing with a bright internal light. When 2 conductor stones are within 5 feet of each other, they create a magical conduit allowing rapid travel through the space between the stones. The orbs repel each other strongly. Even the great weight of a lightning rail coach can't force 2 conductor stones closer together than a few feet. The interaction of the conductor stones creates a visible field of electrical energy that leaps between adjacent stones and also arcs over the top of the body of the coach. So you make oh crap, not magnets. Yeah, it's the crap when you like super cool polymers and then it gains magnetic properties. Superconductors. You're making superconductors. That's the word I'm looking for.
Hence why they're called conductor stones.
That's fair. Orrery of the Plains. This object is a model of Eberron in the Ring of Sybaris, apparently designed to track the motion of the 12 moons around the planet and through the ring, but also sharing a mystical connection to the planes of existence that surround the material plane. Okay, why is this a magic item? Oh, once per day, an orrery can create a localized manifest zone 60 feet in diameter linked to one of the outer planes. It persists for 24 hours. And has one of the following effects depending on the plane it is linked to. Devani enlarge all spells with a lawful descriptor. Kithri, chaotic, cold, fire, blah, blah. Okay, so basically improve spells. All right. Sorry, folks. If you want the details, read the book.
Indeed.
All right. Give us artifacts.
Before humans came to Corvair, the land was the domain of the goblins and the orcs. The greatest civilization to rise in the land was the Empire of Dakan, a proud militaristic goblinoid society that lasted for thousands of years. The Dalkir invasion broke the back of the Dalkani Empire, and by the time humanity arrived, all that was left was a hollow shell. Remnants of its glory still exist, however, and the heirs of Dakan comb the land to locate these artifacts. A hobgoblin who bears the blade of a Dakani warlord has considerable influence among his peers, while a lord who finds the imperial crown itself may finally be able to reunite the clans and set the foundation of a new empire. All Dakani artifacts are distinctly designed and often bear insignia of rank or clan. Goblinoids are usually angered if they see a member of the common races in possession of one of these relics of their history. Members of the heirs of Dakan go to great lengths to claim these artifacts from human hands. So the ash spear of Zakashrin, associated with one of the earliest orc gatekeepers, this wooden spear is actually carved from dense wood and not ash. It is a +4 aberration bane dense wood spear. If the spear has the repel aberration feat, if the wielder has the repel aberration feat, he can use the spear to smite aberrations up to 3 times per day, adding his charisma bonus, if any, to his attack roll and dealing extra points of damage equal to his druidic level. If the character accidentally smites a creature that is not an aberration, the smite has no effect, but the ability is still used up for that day. Breastplate of Kumvul Norek.
Hold up real quick. The previous item says it deals extra damage equal to his druidic level. Does it change the damage based on his druidic sect?
And that's so, folks. Too bad about that.
I regret nothing. So stupid mute button. I would have gotten that out sooner. All right.
Breastplate of Kumval Norek. This armor belonged to a hobgoblin hero of ancient Dakan, known as the Mighty Slayer of Illithids. It is a +3 medium fortification adamantine breastplate and additionally gives its wearer power resistance 17. If the wearer of the breastplate of Kumval Norek makes a successful saving throw against a Mind Blast attack, the Mind Blast rebounds upon the attacker without affecting the wearer. Guldur, the Mighty Dirge. In the first days of the Empire, Jazal Dakan created a great horn, Guldur, to ring out on the field of battle, signaling the downfall of the enemy. This horn is one of the greatest relics of the Empire, and if one of the warlords of the heirs of Dakan could acquire it, a number of the remaining clans would surely flock to his banner. Guldur is carved from the tip of a horn of a red dragon. To use it properly, a character must have at least 12 ranks in Perform. A bard who sounds the horn receives a +5 bonus on all Perform checks involving music. The saving throw DCs of bard spells or bard spell-like abilities used in conjuration with the horn are increased by 3, and all bard spells are enlarged and extended as though by the enlarged spell and extended spell feats. Damn. Finally, when a bard uses his Inspire Courage ability, the morale bonus is increased by +2, and the ability is effective out to 1,000 feet. In addition, all enemies of the bard within 1,000 feet take a -2 morale penalty on attack rolls, damage rolls, and saving throws against charm and fear effects. Wow, this is like 3 different bard abilities in one. The bonuses and penalties are doubled against goblinoid targets. Guldur is probably buried deep in Khyber in one of the vaults of the surviving Dalkir. It is said that only the fire of Jarashta, the dragon who sacrificed his horn for its creation, can destroy the horn. But after 9,000 years, most sages assume that the mighty dragon is long dead. The horn is 3 feet long and weighs 14 pounds. It is banded with adamantine and covered with goblinoid runes. The inscription in Goblin reads, "A mighty dirge for the fallen foe."
Mace of Thundering Vengeance. Manufactured at the height of the Dakani War against the Dalekir, this +6 Aberration Bane Thundering Besh Heavy Mace. Really, how many different, qualifiers you want to put on there? Is a powerful weapon against those horrid foes. In addition to its thundering property, the wielder of the Mace of Thundering Vengeance can strike it against the ground to create an effect identical to the Shout spell, though this effect sounds like rumbling thunder. Resplendent Armor of Dakan, forged for an ancient Hobgoblin Emperor. This suit of +4 heavy fortification, spell resistance, 19 full plate armor, also benefits from a permanent non-detection effect, warding the armor only, not its wearer. The armor grants its wearer +10 enhancement bonus to charisma and allows the wearer to use heroism at will at caster level 20.
Wondrous locations.
All right. Deep in the sewers of Sharn, a mad necromancer assembles a device to transform the rats of the city into undead monstrosities. In the murk of the Shadow Marches, an orc druid uses an ancient stone star map to read the future in the movement of the Ring of Sybaris. These are examples of wondrous locations, magic items that have powerful and useful effects, but that cannot be moved. Typically, restrictions exist on where a wondrous location can be constructed. There are reasons why the necromancer has to build his eldritch machine beneath Sharn instead of in a safe, secure fortress far from civilization. The most common requirement is the presence of a manifest zone tied to the desired effect of the location. Many wondrous locations also require rare or special power components. These requirements are discussed in each individual location description. Since a wondrous location cannot be moved, its price is primarily a measure of what must be spent to create it, although a character selling a stronghold could add on the price of a wondrous location in the basement. A few examples of wondrous locations are provided here, but these should be considered as inspirational suggestions rather than a comprehensive list.
Want me to go over these?
Yeah, just burn through them.
All right. So Dimensional Seal. This wondrous location is actually a minor artifact. The techniques used to create these objects were lost 9,000 years ago. A Dimensional Seal is a massive stone slab covered with a labyrinthine pattern of runes and sigils. The seal has 2 effects. First, it projects an invisible magical field with a radius of 2 miles. This field duplicates the effect of the Dimension Lock spell. Second, it negates the usual effect of any manifest zone covered by its field. Dimensional seals are usually found in the Elden Reaches and the Shadow Marches. They are relics of ancient battles between the Gatekeeper Druids and the forces of the Dalkir. According to legend, these seals keep Zoriat from becoming coterminous to Eberron, and as a result, the cults of the Dragon Below often work to destroy these seals. In the Shadow Marches, they often cover manifest zones covered to Zoriat or Kithri. Destroying the seal would reactivate the powers of that zone. Sybaris Observatory. It is said that the future is already written and that its secrets can be found in the depths of Khyber and the eldritch storms of the Ring of Sybaris. Over the course of millennia, dragons of Arganessen and the Gatekeeper Druids have constructed observatories to help track the movements and patterns of the Ring of Sybaris. The observatories of Arganessen are fantastic constructs of crystal and metal lined with huge orreries designed for dragon claws to use. Druid observatories are assemblies of stone monoliths and twisted trees carefully placed and mystically treated to catch the movement of the ring. Despite their disparate appearances, both kinds of Sybaris observatories have the same effect. An individual in a Sybaris observatory gets a +5 circumstance bonus to knowledge the planes checks. A character with at least 5 ranks of knowledge arcana or survival always knows the direction of north from the position of the Cerberus Observatory. A character in a
All right,
Cerberus
let's skip over all these the
right.
mechanic stuff.
A Cerberus Observatory can only be constructed in a location that has a strong balance between Kyber and Cerberus. It may take months or years of surveying to find such a place. The most commonly costly components required to create the observatory are uncut, unattuned Cerberus, Eberron, and Kyber dragon shards of exceptional size and purity. The final rituals involved in creating the observatory bind the shards to the location, making them useless for any other purpose.
Okay, I actually like that because I was reading it's like requires dragon shards of exceptional size and purity. I'm like, that's gonna get rated. And then it's like, nope, these are all worthless now. Got it. All right, Eldritch Machine. Between the necromancers of the Emerald Claw, the inspired lords of the Dreaming Dark, and other evil masterminds of the world, the villains of Eberron are prone to grand visions of destructive glory, and an Eldritch Machine is often the means of bringing those visions to pass. In essence, an Eldritch Machine is a plot device, a means for villains to create effects that have no easy explanation in the existing D&D rules. In terms of its game mechanics, an Eldritch Machine is a harnessed wish spell, which means that anyone who creates one must have a caster level of 17th or higher. As such, Eldritch Machines are, as a class of items, can do almost anything, but any given machine has one single effect it can create to the exclusion of others. Okay, I kind of like this. It's like, here's a machine of do whatever you want. You know, just like this is the MacGuffin item. You need it to do, you need like something, you know, it's evil. It's going to do something. Make the PC stop it.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, and like, I like how they're just like, yeah, don't like, looks like, yeah, here's just like a bunch of different examples. Necromantic lens. The Eldritch Machine looks like something of like an enormous telescope. When sunlight is focused through its lens, it projects negative energy over a large area. This effect is identical to the mass inflict light wound spell, except that every creature within a 5-mile radius is a target. Okay, so, you know, mass death ray, psychic
Pretty
disruptors, spell sync. Eldritch Machines bend many of the rules of magic used in Dungeons and Dragons. They exist primarily as plot devices, and you as the DM should feel free to set saving throws, DCs as desired, invent building requirements, and determine how to destroy a machine as you see fit. The construction of an Eldritch Machine should be an important part of the adventure. Someone who is building one must first discover the means, often through researching ancient manuals from Zendrick or the Age of Demons, or through the direct intervention of an outsider, and then assemble the materials, which is likely to require travel across Corvair and beyond. An Eldritch Machine has no market price. The DM determines the cost of the materials required to build a given machine.
And that's the end.
Yay! Guess what, folks? We're not talking about monsters today, if you've made it this far.
No one's made it this far.
No one's made it this
I'm
far.
sorry I derailed it so badly.
No, it was don't apologize for that. It was a good conversation. Yes, we were arguing. No, I don't think we reached a conclusion, but it was still a good conversation, and that's what's important. So, anyway.
I think it's enough. And I'm not going to be back, folks. He's kicking me out.
I am not kicking him out. Well, I'm kicking him out for tonight because I have to go to work. But anyways, any final thoughts before we bounce, since we're now at like 2.5 hours?
No. Except I'm sorry to anyone that actually watches this.
I don't apologize. It was great. It was good fun. All right, folks, we will be back next week. We will at least cover monsters, and hopefully we'll cover the Eberron campaign section as well. I should be back tomorrow for topics and tangents. I have no idea what I'm doing. I was hoping to do a panel last week, but that didn't happen, and I haven't planned anything for this week. So I will do something. What? I don't know. We'll talk then. But otherwise, folks, we've both got to bounce. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hit the like button on your way out, and we will talk to you next time.